This is the Hive Mind Nation channel. Welcome to today's show. I'm putting up a video that I shouldn't be putting up on this channel right now, but I'm putting it up for 24 hours about some of the stuff with the Charlie Kirk supposed assassination attempt. I'm putting it up so that you can share this video with others. Get the word out that I'm still here, that I'm trying to build my channel out. Tell people, show them it. Get them back over here to subscribe to this channel now. Obviously, I'm still trying to build this channel out, so I'm going to have to delete this video after 24 hours. This is an opportunity for you to at least download the video, but share the link and tell people, look, Call's still out there. He's still trying to get the message out about this scripted reality, about this simulation we're living in. The news is manufactured, and this is more evidence of it. I'm going to play for you now the video in its entirety that I uploaded to the website. Keep in mind this video may get a strike. And keep in mind that I will be removing it. But please, if you're new, subscribe now because I'm trying to build this channel out. And trust me, you'll want to stay subscribed. You'll want to start realizing that the news is here to manufacture your behavior. It is a simulation. It's scripted out. It is used to manipulate you, to blur your vision of what's real and what's not. These are characters in front of us, from Donald Trump to the alt-right media, all of them. They're all operatives of the Central Intelligence Agency. That's what they are. And they're used to manipulate your thoughts. These events are used to manipulate you into wanting things that that Big Brother wants implemented, like red flag laws. They have to carry these events out so that you ask for the change because they can't bring it in unless you're okay with it and accepting of it. So make sure you subscribe now, get the word out that I'm trying to get back out there because we see how this is being covered. It's being covered as a real event by the alt-right media. The character Charlie Kirk is dead. You're not going to see him again on television. But the actor who played Charlie Kirk, he's likely alive and likely over in Israel. Here's the video in its entirety.
YouTube says it has had enough of vaccine misinformation on its site.
And false stories from phony sites to run circles around major news outlets.
Many people don't know the difference between something real and something created to deceive them.
Open your eyes.
If you've ever had this feeling that something was terribly wrong with the world that we live in, but you couldn't figure out just what it was, then you've come to the right place. Secret societies, mystery religions, and the Illuminati have been controlling our reality since the beginning of time. But not anymore, because there is an awakening happening, and you are about to become a part of it. Wake up, because this is a call for an uprising.
We create a pretend world. We are a global production company. We write the screenplay. We're the directors. We're the producers. We're the main actors. And the world is our stage.
This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. The more we look at the footage and everything surrounding the Charlie Kirk assassination, it's starting to become more clear that the character Charlie Kirk is indeed dead in this reality. But the actor playing Charlie Kirk may very well be alive. Now, when we first see this footage, you have to remember, you have to take it in. The first time you're going to see it, you're going to say, wow, that looks real. Just like when you watch a movie, you don't stop the movie, rewind the movie, and start breaking down frame by frame to see the actual wound that a character has suffered in the actual movie. You watch the movie, you're in disbelief, you're in suspense. The person in the movie gets shot, and you just move on. You don't go through it to try to break down, well, how did they use special effects here to have this character, show this character getting shot? Now, when it comes to the real world, or what's supposed to be the real world, which is really a simulated reality because the news is manufactured and scripted, and that's how they create chaos. That's how they've created all of this division, by putting these characters in place on the left and on the right, by provoking one another, by giving you fictional stories of shootings here and border crossings there and illegal immigrants committing these crimes and criminals being let out of jail and running free in the streets and Democrats not caring. All of these actors have played their role to create this civil war, which was done by design. And characters like Charlie Kirk, who blew onto the scene in 2016 and 2017, right at the time of Donald Trump, this entire alt-right movement is attached directly to Donald Trump. They wiped out the truth movement and they put in the alt-right media, as I've said a million times. So when you watch this stuff in real time, you don't think to yourself to go back and break down the actual footage. You're in disbelief when you see somebody get shot right in front of your face. But of course, it's the illusion of somebody getting shot, because the death of Charlie Kirk is vital in this movement moving forward. Not this movement of freedom, not this movement of nationalism. This is the movement of the New World Order, because it only comes in via divide and conquer. And this event was needed to divide the people even more than they've ever been divided, to ignite more hatred, to have the right calling for the blood of the left. And it's only just begun, because as more information comes out and the shooter is revealed, this psyop is only going to escalate into exactly what they want, which is to bring in red flag laws, which is to remove certain rights from certain citizens. We see all the conservatives calling for cancellations and people to lose their jobs who posted out about being glad that Charlie Kirk has said this is exactly what they want. It's the cancellation of one another, the cancellation of our rights. The left first was removing the rights of the conservative movement, and now the conservatives are trying to remove the rights of the left. That's exactly what the globalists want. And of course, we know this is all about bringing in their surveillance state, their digital IDs, their removal of free speech, accountability for words said online, and of course, criminalizing people for thought and for words. So that being said, when you see this footage, let's look at it real fast in real time. The first time you see it, this is going to look like someone getting shot in the neck. I saw many people comment on many of my posts that I put up saying that this is 100% real because they're watching it in real time. They're looking at this saying, wow, that looks very, very real. Look.
Gang violence. Great. Not counting 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 gang violence. Great.
So when you see that, and you see it all over social media, your natural response is, because you're not watching a movie in your mind, you think you're watching the news or an actual real event, you're automatically believing that it's real, and that's what they want. Because they wouldn't be able to pass these laws and make these changes unless they carried out these false flag operations to make you want change and make you want red flag laws. That's what I've been saying over and over and over again, that we need to remind people. If all these fake events that they've created, these school shootings, etc., didn't occur, the left wouldn't be calling for gun control because they wouldn't see a problem with people having guns. So they have to create all these events. And of course, the only people who really want guns removed for citizens are these people who are in power, who want to remain in power for the rest of their lives. And they realize that once people wake up to what's actually been going on, including this divide and conquer psychosis they put people in, that the people might rise up against them, and they need to make sure they're unarmed. Now, in that footage that you saw, it looked real in real time. Of course it did. Just like when you watch somebody get shot in a movie, you don't see them get shot in real time in the movie and say that looked really, really fake, unless you're watching something that you got from the DVD bin at 7-Eleven. Most of these big productions you watch and you're like, whoa, that's gruesome. Oh, that looks real, right? Now, when we break this down, take a closer look here with me. We're going to look at this frame by frame, slowed down. Right now, take a look. You see how his shirt is moving before there's even a wound on his face, almost like something pumped out of his shirt, like something popped in his shirt. If he was shot in the neck, as we saw, and he fell backwards, we would see the wound on his neck first, and then we would see his body jump and possibly some of his clothing move, but something's clearly underneath his shirt that is very clear to see, that is popping up. Watch again. In his shirt, as he falls over. Okay, ready? Move back, rewind, watch again. Pump, opposite way. Now forward, pump, up, out of his actual shirt. So there's clearly a mechanism in place there. And you might say, well, what are you actually getting at? What could be underneath the shirt? Well, a blood squib is a device that they use in films and movies. It looks a lot like this.
When an actor is shot, under his shirt is a small explosive device. These squibs contain fake blood packs that burst open upon detonation, creating a realistic gunshot effect. However, the explosion can also cause minor injuries, such as burns or bruises.
So you notice the blood squib and how that looks, right? That's what they use in movies, right? It's almost like a device, right? It's a device that bursts upon detonation that can be used under the shirt. Now you might say, well, that was at his neck. But how do we not know that they weren't using more sophisticated technology? Because, of course, we know DARPA has the most insane technology that we could possibly imagine. We can't even imagine it. It is so insane, including things like smart bullets that they use where they could snipe somebody out from anywhere at any time. And again, if they wanted to assassinate Donald Trump, they would have assassinated Donald Trump. And this doesn't look like they actually assassinated Charlie Kirk, as I'll show you more footage momentarily. This looks like they assassinated the character of Charlie Kirk, because that's all that really matters, is the character. We'll never see the character again on television. We'll never see the character again on social media. The character was killed off. What you're watching is a show. It is a stage. All the world is their stage, right? Like the Mossad tells us, the whole world is their stage. And who do you think's pulling the strings?
We create a pretend world. We are a global production company. We write the screenplay. We're the directors. We're the producers. We're the main actors. And the world is our stage.
So to answer for the neck wound, now we don't know if they actually turned one of these up so that it would splatter out towards his neck. Some people have obviously talked about, including myself, the AI, using potential AI, the fingers of Charlie Kirk with his ring. But I want to show you just some other things as well that we very much, nobody knows this stuff because you just go see a movie and you're in a suspended state. You watch these things and then you entertained and then you turn it off and then you move on, right? Well, somebody's got to be responsible for doing these types of wounds and things that we see in the movies. And here are just a couple of clips, including a neck wound, how they could, I mean, the guy's neck looks, it looks, you wouldn't be able to tell that there was anything going on with his neck, and how they could feed these devices through pumps, through someone's shirt, right up through the front of their neck to cause these types of wounds. Look.
We don't want to jinx it, we don't want to say anything wrong, but what we don't want to have happen is that awful moment, and I wish I could say it's never happened, where you're on set and you start pumping blood and you look at the actor and nothing's coming out of his neck, but there's a giant red pile going on the back of his body. What I'm doing with purging the line is making sure that the blood is traveling down the line and that there's pressure in the thing. So I don't know if you can see here, you got it? Chair. So this is the bit where I'm going to cut the appliance. So I'm going to start to cut. This is where I had that situation where I had an extra freak out on set. This is always I think, a very nerve-wracking piece, because you don't exactly know for sure that you are in the right place, and also, you are using a pair of live scissors on next to an actor, and the whole crew are watching sometimes, and you're a little bit nervous. Now just get you to turn a little bit towards my mic. There you go. These are a very, very fine pointed scissor. They snip through foam really, really well. And also they've got a lot of control over the blade. There we go. It's a little bit lower than I wanted to be, but that's actually not a bad thing. Regarding the pale colour of the foam on the inside, some people like to paint that red. I don't. Your flesh is naturally white inside. I'll bring you back to this position. And I kind of like the white because it's going to go red very, very quickly. And I like that. I really do. I like this. Now, Mike, if you drop your head down, just relax. See, it's almost like I can finger the wound back in. It's almost like it's undetectable.
3, 2, 1.
Creating this hit took an air pressurizer, a gnarly prosthetic, and a special blood formula. Making actors project, gush, and burst out blood on camera isn't just about gore. These bloody scenes require careful research and artistic flair. To find out how they do it, we went to Brett Schmidt and Greg Pikulski, the special effects makeup artists at SPFX Studio. They've created graphic injuries for mob dramas like The Irishman, medical shows like New Amsterdam, and action movies like Sicario: Day of the Soldado. It all starts with the actual prosthetics. The hardest part of creating wounds is building the look of depth.
Prosthetic makeup is an additive process, so you can only add, you can't take away.
But when you look at a wound, you're supposed to be looking into the body. The prosthetic needs to be thick enough to create that effect.
But it also has to work into the rest of the person's body. And that's why a lot of times for effects that have, lacerations or even bullet holes, you'll actually have a prosthetic that is an entire torso.
Just to create the effect of this small bullet wound in Sicario: Day of the Soldado, Brett and Greg had to sculpt a prosthetic that covered most of the actor's shoulder. For this laceration prosthetic from New Amsterdam, they were able to build up a thickness that subtly ramps up toward the laceration. Because this scene required a lot of blood, the prosthetic also had to be thick enough to hide a medium-sized vinyl tube. For smaller wounds, Brett and Greg might use one of these tiny tubes. These can be hidden in actors' hair or even a pair of glasses like they did in this scene from Sicario: Day of the Soldado. To hide the larger tubes, however, they had to sculpt a special channel in the prosthetic.
You don't want to put a tube in, that creates a bulge or anything like that. That'll give away the effect.
On set, they hid the rest of the tube underneath and behind the actress. How the blood comes out of the tube depends on what you use to power it. In this scene, a piece of shrapnel has hit a patient's artery. To create the kind of spray that results from an artery rupture, the blood has to be released at a high pressure out of a centralized location, like you see in this test run with water. They get that effect using this little device.
This is a tiny little garden sprayer that's usually used for spraying various chemicals on your flowers or whatnot.
After they prime the line with some pre-existing blood, they let out the blood in a pulsing motion to emulate real arterial bleeding.
3, 2, 1.
The key was using a lot of blood. For the full effect, though, you'd need to see this in slow-mo.
So it's movie magic, as they say, but why would people put it out of the realm of possibility that they would use this type of stuff in real time while people are thinking that they're watching something real, and then, of course, somebody that they look up to or somebody they despise is assassinated right in front of their eyes? It brings them deeper into the psychosis, which is exactly what they need, which is exactly what the fake Trump assassination did. Now, I want to show you a couple of other clips that are very, very suspicious. There's two men standing behind Charlie Kirk. Keep an eye on these two men as I play this clip. They're clearly signaling for this device to be activated. Now, you can look at it if you don't believe that they used a device, which it should be pretty clear based on how his chest pumped and how his chest jumped out. And it just did not look like a natural response. And again, remember the stuff with it. There's no ambulance there. All the footage after he gets shot is cut off. Nobody filmed him on the ground. Nobody filmed an ambulance coming. And I'll show you in a couple of minutes him getting dragged away by his security team. But take a look at these men behind him. They're obviously with him. Okay, they're obviously, because they're that close to him, we like to pretend that these guys are just like regular guys like me and you. They go up to the people, they shake their hands. These guys are heavily protected, heavily. The government has invested much time and much effort in creating these characters. They are protected just like celebrities are protected. In fact, these people have become just as popular as actual celebrities in the world in 2025 because that's the psychosis they've created with politics. But watch these men behind him, clearly signaling.
Do you know how many mass shooters there have been in America over the last 10 years? Counting or not counting gang violence? Great. Do you know how many mass shooters there have been in America over the last 10 years? Counting or not counting gang violence? Great.
Right? I mean, you look at that, you could see them signaling. It looks like something right out of Major League Baseball, right?
Part of being a good bat boy is not having a better beard than a lot of the players.
Who's he giving signs to?
I don't know.
You got to be kidding me.
This kid is strong.
Yeah.
So there's a signal. That could have been the signal to activate the actual noise, the mechanism of a shot, a blank being fired, which probably was linked up with the device that was on his body. Now, one other thing is, obviously, there's been tons of foreshadowing. That's stuff that people are talking about, foreshadowing of Charlie Kirk's death, right? Him talking about being shot. He tweeted out in the past Did I just get shot by an AR-15? Feels like it, right? Well, here is him. I want you to listen closely because all the articles that were out there yesterday were talking about how he had no security. There's no security. There's no security, right? Just like Donald Trump. We were supposed to believe that Donald Trump didn't have the right security, the security didn't do its job, that somebody outsmarted the Secret Service, the guy who supposedly, the BlackRock kid who supposedly shot at Trump, who couldn't look like he could walk down the street or tie his own shoes, somehow outsmarted the Secret Service, and nobody saw him on the rooftop. And that guy, that kid who looked like he couldn't even read, somehow got that close with the rifle from that distance to Donald Trump's head. Give me an utter break. Completely staged, but the right doesn't want to believe that it's completely staged because they're in the psychosis. They don't want to believe that the left and right is fully controlled by the supposed deep state that they think that they're actually against. Well, here's Charlie Kirk, again, who had no security. Here's he is talking about, and pretty much, using magic in a sense, talking about how what the future looks like with violence and him, and he very well believes that he could be killed one day. But keep in mind, he also talks about how he has heavy security around him at all times.
At the core of the left, at the core of a liberal, is someone that would use the sword if they had it. They are very violent people at their core. They always have been. They can't debate. They can't have conversation. So they'll resort to these tactics. They're going to do everything they possibly can to try to murder this movement because they can't beat us. So they're going to try to take weapons. And no, we're very aware of that. I'm aware of it. We have to have full-time security. This is not a joke. This is who these people are. No, we're very aware of that. I'm aware of it. We have to have full-time security.
So the media tells you that Donald Trump had no security or there was a lack of security, which is, obviously hard to believe. Now we hear the same thing with Charlie Kirk, but Charlie Kirk says he has security around him at all times because these people obviously, if they weren't government agents, they were normal people, how would you not have the wherewithal in the current climate to have security around you at all times? I said this in previous videos on this topic. If I actually revealed my face when my channel was what it was before it got curb stomped so these people could replace people like me because they don't want you to realize that the news is fake and it's a simulation to suck you in to the matrix, pretty much. That's what it is. If I ever revealed my face and went out there, I would have massive amounts of security. One of the reasons I didn't do it is because of the threats that people were sending me online. Just from talking about the New World Order and weather modification of those things, people getting unhinged over those types of topics, those conspiracy topics. So they obviously know to have security around them all the time. And then the other question is about the ambulance. There's no ambulance there, right? This is an event with lots of people. Think about any event you've been to. Think about if you have a county fair in your town. There's always medics nearby. You always see an ambulance, right? Say you have, a fall, what's coming up, Harvest Fest, right? And everyone's out there and they're, ooh, look at all these arts and crafts, right? And they got the people selling ice cream and selling hot dogs. You'll always see medics nearby because they know if there's X amount of people, there might be 100, there might be 200, 300 people there. Medics need to be on standby in case something happens. There's a lot of people. You never know. There could be violence. Well, being that, what we all see going on with the left, right, anybody with common sense would say, well, there's a chance there could be violence at these things because all they're doing is fighting with one another. And, everyone's getting gaslit. Everybody's going back and forth. Everybody's in each other's face. You have Charlie Kirk embarrassing the liberals on college campuses. It's very clear to see that violence could very well occur. And we've seen some events where they actually have occurred. So you'd think medics would be on hand for that or just because it's a large gathering. But he wasn't brought out in ambulance. And conveniently, all the footage was cut off after Charlie Kirk supposedly was shot. And this is what we get. This is all we get is Charlie Kirk being carried. You don't see any blood splatter coming out of him after what we saw from the wound. We just see men carrying a body and throwing him into the back of a black SUV. And that's the end. Look. So that's how it ends. He gets thrown in the back of SUV and then you wait, right? Next thing you hear is Donald Trump announce that he's dead. Is Donald Trump in the car? How did Donald Trump find out? Donald Trump people called him and they were all on standby. And they're like, can you make the announcement, Donald, to the world? The announcement, again, came from Donald Trump. Every headline and every news media outlet, which is all controlled, wanted to make sure you knew that Donald Trump made the announcement because it brings the conservatives deeper into the psychosis. It brings both sides deeper into it. This entire thing is a production. The world is their stage. That's what this is. The world is their stage. And people have questioned a lot of these events, where conservatives have questioned a lot of the school shootings that have happened, rightfully so, because they're all fake. But people get so emotionally invested in this stuff because they believe in these characters. They think that these characters are real. They put Charlie Kirk out there for about 10 years. This is probably his entire purpose of the creation of Charlie Kirk, the character, was this, and the red flag laws and the things that they're going to bring in from this, and the inciting of civil war and civil unrest. All you hear is conservatives saying, we need revenge. Fight, fight, fight. Right? Donald Trump's mantra, fight, fight, fight. The other side laughing at one side's death. That's how deep they've gotten these people into the psychosis because of the characters like Charlie Kirk that they rolled out. Remember, none of these guys, Charlie Kirk, Jack Posobiec, or whatever his name is, Ben Shapiro, Tim Cast. In 2016, these people did not exist. Now these people are interviewing the president. They're on national television day now. The whole truth movement was removed from YouTube in 2016 after the whole thing at the pizza place. Everybody was removed. Everyone. And replaced with these characters. And these characters are carrying this out. There was no civil unrest like this in 2016. There might have been people who disagreed politically and, who didn't see eye to eye with people. The abortion stuff obviously is always going to be controversial, but not like this. Not since they put the character Donald Trump in office, and then they put the alt-right media there, and they had the liberal media annoy the conservatives with all the stuff they reported, which was fake news, they would call it. But the reality is that the news itself is fake, and these are characters who are working you into a psychosis. They are manipulating your thoughts. They are the ones who are creating this alternate universe that we're in. It's not any coincidence that at the same time we have all these Marvel movies that come out with alternate universes. Well, everybody who believes in the news and believes that all this stuff that they see in the news is real and these people who are characters are real, they're living in an alternate reality. And you see how it affects them. This is all they talk about on social media. They go out and they talk about these things. This isn't even in their day-to-day life. They're not even seeing it visibly with their own eyes in front of them. They're seeing it through the technology. They're seeing it through their phone. They're seeing it through the television. We are in a deep psychosis, ladies and gentlemen. Not the people who listen to this type of content. And it's hard for people to get past that with the news being simulated. When you think about insane world leaders and Roman empires, why would it be beyond the realm of possibility for them to control not just the news, which everyone knows? Everyone talks about BlackRock and all the corporations that own the media, right? And they say, they own the media. What do you think? It stops at some stories about how the media hates Donald Trump, the liberal media. You don't think that they'd actually go, hey, what would be really good? We just CGI stuff. We just green screen stuff. We'll create stories of war. We'll keep them in fear. We'll create stories of shootings at schools to make them want to get guns out of the hands of civilians. We'll get them scared that there's not enough surveillance around, that criminals are getting away with murder, that we need more cameras. And that's what they do. And they create the news just like a director or a producer creates a movie. It's like Wag the Dog, literally. That's what we're living in. So people need to pull themselves out of the emotional effect that this has on them. I say it with the school shootings. It's easy to get sucked in because you hear about children. You see pictures of AI photographs of children that never existed in the first place. And then you hear a backstory about them and everyone gets sucked in. I can't believe it. I've been praying for these kids. Their whole day revolves around it. They don't even realize they're into psychosis. It's the same thing with these characters. They're emotionally invested in these characters because they've listened to them day in and day out for the last couple of years, because they speak and say the things that they want to hear, because they're voices for the people against the other side, the opposition, the left and the right? Because these people don't feel like they have voices, so the alt-right media is their voice, just like the Democrats. The liberal media is their voice. When those people are working together to divide you and manipulate you and to get you to hate one another and to emotionally invest in their characters, and those characters then, they mold and warp your view on things in the world and how you should feel about things. Think about all the hatred towards the LGBTQ. Right? Over the last, 8 years, how it's ignited. People were anti-gay. Christians were anti-gay marriage, all this other stuff. But it didn't affect them. They're just like, whatever. If they want to get married, let them get married. But then all of a sudden, right, they're just like, well, we're going to put news stories out about lap dances in schools. And the liberals are going to cheer for it. We're going to put the drag queens in the White House lawn. And they work the conservatives into a frenzy. And people like Charlie Kirk were defending them and going, this is lunatics talk. And they're going, yes, somebody finally saying it. Instead of the people just going, how are we accepting this and allowing this? We don't need some talking head to tell us what's right and what's wrong. It's clear that they're manipulating people in the media, and they're manipulating one side to accept this and think that this is normal. And then they're working the other side to be so pissed off that they're grasping at straws for some hero to speak up and defend them. And that's where the alt-right media and people like Charlie Kirk came in. And then what happens? Ooh, they shoot him down, supposedly, right? Right in front of your eyes. And think about the effect that that has. Seeing an assassination, a so-called assassination. It's going to affect you because you think that you're watching something that's real and you're watching a real person that you know who's being shot. But that's not the reality. These are characters. And what you're watching is a scripted reality. And it's all so that you ask for the things and demand the things that Big Brother has wanted from the get-go. That's what comes out of this. Okay? Anti-Semitism laws, Noahide laws being brought in. Like I mentioned in my previous video, talking about how we're all of a sudden hearing about capital punishment. We're hearing about, well, this guy, murdered a girl on a train. Let's kill her. What? All of a sudden, I thought the death penalty was abolished. Well, Trump's in power now. We're gonna remove that. And in fact, we're gonna have a fast trial. And we're gonna kill people because the justice system's not working. They're letting criminals out. I mean, this is all part of their game to change, laws and rules and to make you want this change because they couldn't just do it without the psyops and the false flags. If none of these things occurred, they wouldn't be able to do it. If 9/11 didn't happen and you heard that Congress was passing a bill called the Patriot Act and they were going to start doing this crap at the airports and they're going to start spying on people, the NSA, to make sure that Al-Qaeda didn't come and blow up another building in our cities. If they didn't do that, you'd say, absolutely not. Why would we want this? We don't want this government overreach. Well, then when the 9/11 happened, people said, yeah, we need that. Or they just accepted it because the government said, look, we have to do this because of that. Just like all these events at schools, none of these people will be saying, we want to get everybody's guns. We need gun control. None of the Democrats would be calling for gun control if they didn't see these simulations. If none of these events happen, which they likely would not happen, okay, naturally, why do you think they weren't happening in the 70s and 80s? I've talked about this. Operation Orion, okay, was created by the CIA to start carrying out these events in schools to make the people want gun control. And then they just ramped it up in the 2000s. Right? 2010's on. We see one every week, every month. And these people are going nuts, going, we got to get guns. We got to get guns. Well, they didn't do that. You could go up to some Democrat, be like, yeah, I'm a gun owner. They wouldn't care that you were a gun owner. They need the psyops to do it. They need the false flags to do it. And that's exactly what this is. So think about what's going to come of all this with Charlie Kirk because of how deep in the psychosis most of these people are. There'll be more coverage on this topic, obviously, on the website. We've got still, as of me recording this, no information on the shooter. I wouldn't be surprised if that somehow ties into needing more surveillance with Palantir and everything else. How do we track them? The only information they've given out is they know it's a somebody college aged, right? How convenient. Well, of course it'd be somebody college aged. If they told you it was a 90-year-old man like they originally did, or some people were saying it was, that doesn't play into this game. We know what they need it to be. They need to be someone pro-Palestine, possibly trans, which again is the obvious thing to do. And then you think to yourself, well, if they make the shooter trans, wouldn't everybody wake up and say, this is too ridiculous? This circus is becoming too ridiculous. No, actually, no. It'd be the perfect send-off to this stuff to bring in red flag laws against trans people, which is what they want to do. But it's not really for trans people. They want conservatives to sign off on red flag laws and say, we need them. Trans people have mental health problems. We need something in place with mental health. Okay. And then you put Gavin Newsom in 2028. Or whatever year, put him back in, put someone in, Democrat. Guess who becomes the red flag law? And they switch it and they go, we have red flag laws in place, but we don't believe that mental health has anything to do with being trans. That's who they are. We believe mental health are conspiracy theorists, people who are online posting about weather modification and 5G and who question vaccines and who question school shootings. Those people have mental problems, right? Because we know how the game works. They want to silence us. Not the alt-right media, not the people who pretend that they're awake, who go down the QAnon CIA-created rabbit hole, us, people like me and you. There is more to come. I thank everybody for being here. I hope you're all doing well. God bless you and your families as always.